everyone, and welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us today for this live stream event. My name is Alexia, and I am the Program Manager of the Microsoft Reactor Toronto. We will be sharing session resources with you in the chat. But before we begin, I'd like to quickly review two items, our Code of Conduct and event guidelines. First, please take a moment to review our Code of Conduct. Microsoft Reactor seeks to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We encourage engagement in the chat, but please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional and on topic. And secondly, our event guidelines. The session is being recorded and will be available on demand through the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel in about 24 to 48 hours. We will be sharing the link in the chat for our on-demand content. And if you have not been on a live stream to YouTube before, please note that you must create an account on YouTube in order to have access and interact in the chat. You can set that up now. And if you're unable to use the chat but have questions, feel free to reach out to us through social media or on our website. Which brings us to today's event. Today is the Startup Assemble highly anticipated event. I'm going to bring in our host here, Bethany. Hi, Bethany.
Hi, Alexia. Thank you so much for starting us out.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We're very looking forward to this event. So without further ado, let's start it.
Yeah, welcome to the Startup Assemble. I am Bethany Jabchumba, a cloud advocate here at Microsoft. And unfortunately, just before the stream, I lost my light. So you see me in a weird glow, don't worry. Today's session is all about startups and the different benefits you can get as a startup through the Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub. We'll be sharing a lot of things from a panel session where you can learn more about how to accelerate your startups in this AI period. We'll also have startups showcase what they have been able to do with Azure and Microsoft Founders Hub, Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub. Before we start, I want to showcase this brilliant startup. It's called 321 Check by Nurup. Can you go to the next slide? Okay, we have a video about how Nurup has been able to utilize Founders Hub benefits. He's currently in the 4th stage of Founders Hub, which is, as you know, one of the best stages to be in because you're now scaling your products and being able to use Microsoft Azure, Microsoft 365, Azure OpenAI, and so much more credits that you can be able to use to be able to accelerate your product. Nurup, maybe you can say hi and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nurup, and as Bethany mentioned, part of the Founders Hub program, level 4 now, and I am helping to build a global background checking company called 321 Go Check. Thank you for inviting me here. Looking forward to learning more about what everyone else is building.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nurup. And with that, we'll go to a slide showcasing what Nurup has been able to do.
But yeah.
Okay. As we wait for the slide, as we wait, maybe Nurup, you can share with us your experience, what it has been with Founders Hub, how you've been able to explore and use the different benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, we started off maybe 2 years ago only with the idea of wanting to build a product. In our heads as a team, all we had was, how do we make a good background checking company? And we didn't really know all of these resources that we would need over time. But then as we start building and building more and more, we quickly realized that for us to build a product at a global level, we will actually need a lot of resources, a lot of support. And that's not just compute resources, it's also resources. So over time, we've learned that the true benefits of the Founders Hub program wasn't just about having Azure or Dynamics or OpenAI. It was actually the people. Because you are trying to build a product and trying to learn all the technical details around what it's like to use these technical solutions, you actually need amazing people. So part of what we've experienced within the Founders Hub is having amazing people there to support us and give us guidance. So, and that's been a difference for us as a company, which has gotten us to level 4 now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nuru. Yeah, thank you. I think we'll play the video at the end due to time. But before we even get into the agenda of the day, there are three main things I want you to take out of this session today. Number one is, when my lights are back, yay! The first thing that I need you to take advantage of is the you earlier today and get started with the benefit we need here to get started. Secondly, we want to showcase the Azure AI community on Discord. This is a channel where you can be able to go ahead and learn together with experts and be able to grow as you continue learning. And thirdly is the learning resources. We have curated awesome learning resources that you can get started with. So all these things, all these important details you might want to have handy with you, you'll find them on the link in the QR code. We'll also be sharing the link directly to your chat, which you'll be able to get a chance to be able to see and take advantage of all the resources. And this is a live session, which means it's very interactive. I would want to hear from all of you. I've seen everyone mentioning where they're joining us from. With us, be to share your questions with us, and we'll be able to grow together today. So, with those remarks, I want to invite Julia. The next slide. I want to invite Julia to take us through our panel session. We have amazing panelists with us today. We have Samuel Adranyi, Olajamuke, Adrir, and Nitya. So over to you, Julia.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bethany, for the wonderful introduction. And so sorry for the technical glitches. I'm hoping that we'll get to hear the story from 3, 2, 1, go towards the end of the event. But I always love hearing stories of how startups are leveraging Founders Hub to, kind of deliver to their clients and deliver winning products. So I'm really, really looking forward to what today's event has in store for us. So my name is Julia Mwiruri, and I'm a cloud advocate at Microsoft working in the JavaScript team, but I'm really, really passionate about innovation. And today I'm joined with an awesome team that will talk on the topic, the AI revolution, unlocking entrepreneurial potential. And I know that sounds like a very serious title, but in essence, we'll just be having an open dialogue of what innovation and entrepreneurship looks like in this era of AI. So without further ado, let's introduce our panelists today. And if you have any questions for them, drop them on the chat. We have an awesome team that is available on the chat and will engage with you through your questions. So if you have any question, drop them on the chat and we'll address some of them on the live stream. So with that, I'll request for my panelists to come on stage, and then we can now start with a brief introduction of each one of them. So I would like us to start with Samuel. So Samuel, kindly introduce yourself and share with us one interesting way that you have used AI, either at work or in your personal life.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Julia. Hello, everybody on the stream. My name is Samuel Adranyi, currently live in Accra, Ghana. Thank you for this awesome session. I'm a technologist. I want to call myself a generalist because I'm passionate about different things. But in recent times, being a fusion person, putting different unique technologies together. To your question, using AI, well, currently I have founded a startup, coincidentally, which is at level 3 of the startup hub. It's called Crafted Climate. So what we are doing is we are developing low-cost air quality and gas monitoring sensors that are being deployed at different parts of the city in Accra. So what we're doing is collecting this data and then running AI on them to do predictive forecasting and also to help with some policy guides. So that's how interesting, it is. And I would like to say that, but But for the Microsoft Startup Hub, Founders Hub, this would have been tremendous, cost in terms of trying to find cloud spend to build this. So that's interesting. I'm excited to see all the conversations that will come up today. Thank you.
Awesome. That's really interesting. Thanks for sharing that, and it's amazing having you on the stream with us. Next, I'll invite Nitya. Kindly introduce yourself and also share a crazy way that you've been using AI, either at work or in your personal life.
Sounds good. Hi, Julia. And I'm so excited. It's so nice to see so many founders on this chat. We love founders. So I'm based out of New York. I'm part of the AI advocacy team, along with you, Bethany, and so many people in the back here. So two use cases for AI. First of all, I'm an AI advocate. Huge shout out. We're going to be at Build presenting a workshop that we're kind of doing on end-to-end development for generative AI applications. So one way I've actually been looking at AI is how do we streamline the end-to-end development process for people, particularly because we are in new territory with generative AI, right? Like evaluations are so new. How do you actually make all these complex things work? Is it agentic apps? Is it, flows? So I think part of my daytime job is how do we make that workflow easier for developers? And I really, really love Azure AI Studio, so shout out to that. In my personal life, I'll be very honest and say, if you follow me on Twitter or anywhere, I have a high schooler. So my use for AI is really to get him to learn Python without me being there by using Copilot. So there we go. I think.
Well, I'm hoping you'll share an update of how the learning is with you. All right. Sounds good. Again, always lovely having you, Nitya. I love your energy, so I'm looking forward to an exciting session. Next up, we have Olajumoke. Feel free to introduce yourself. Again, share an interesting use case you have of AI. And if possible, share if you have an awesome nickname that we can use in case anyone is unable to correctly pronounce your name.
Awesome. Thank you, Julia. So first, I know you've mothered my name in some way, and I see that the other lady before you also mothered it. So I'll say you can call me MJ for short, but not Michael Jackson. I know. So my name is Olajumoke Teriola, fondly called MJ. I'm the CEO of Ashem Limited, and it's interesting being here. I'm super excited for inviting me, and then my own use case around AI is actually around the onboarding process for the HR team. I want to see how we can use AI to simplify as much as possible the onboarding process and also to manage the exit management for staff, and then also predict. So that's a solution I'm currently looking into. Other things I do around AI, I run a monthly program called C-Suite Corner with MJ. What I do here is to bring in business leaders, and then we see how we can talk around the intersection of business and technology as it pertains to AI. Really, what's the use cases in industry? How is it reshaping the way people work and all of that? So my passion right now is really on the human resource solution, the HR solution. However, I've been having a very good time using Copilot, and then working with the Copilot Studio has been very awesome for me. So thank you.
Awesome. Fantastic. So I don't know if you're able to have Adir on the stream as well, but if not, just let me know as soon as he's available. So I will assume that we are past the what is AI phase, but allow me to ask, what is artificial intelligence and why should startups care in the first place? So MJ, for sharing your awesome nickname, allow me to direct this to you.
Okay, so great. Artificial intelligence is that method where we use machine to mimic what human beings we do, just in a layman language. And how is it useful for startup? So there are a lot of opportunities in artificial intelligence for startup. I think one of the first thing I'll talk about is around the automation. How startups today can use AI to automate a lot of manual processes that actually are consuming time, and you can use that also to see how repetitive tasks can be reduced with AI. And then a lot of places where you find that is actually around the financial industries, where you've seen startups leveraging AI to scale financial services, or you even talk about places like the healthcare where you can use AI for patient care and all of that. So another use case for me has been around customer engagement, and startups today can offer their customers more personalized experience, really, through AI powered tools like chatbots. I've seen situations where people can actually use chatbots and then recommendation engines, things like virtual assistants. Some of the solutions that startups can actually leverage on with AI, I mean, using AI to deliver to their customer. One of the cool things again I see is around data-driven decision. Today, with the level of the volume of data that we have at our disposal, and I hear people say that data is the new oil. I mean, so these are models that you can train with AI, and then at the end of the day, those data can actually give you better insights. I mean, you can startups today can predict trends, they can understand their customer behavior better, and also make informed decision. And lastly, I will talk about the competitive advantage today that startups can get leveraging or integrating AI into their products. Competitive advantage that allows them to actually differentiate themselves in the market. You are able with the technology. Remember that is a transformative, is a disruptive technology, and in a good way, really, because at the end of the day, you can actually offer very unique and innovative solution to address specific problems, and then improve the way customer see your solution. In other words, you are actually creating value. I mean, when I talk about value, I normally am very, very careful about how people define value for me. But I know that with AI today, you can actually not only deliver, but you can create value with the use of all of these AI tools. So for startups, it's actually a very, very it's an interesting period for them. It's an interesting period for all startups. I mean, you can use AI today for a lot of things around innovation, automation, operational efficiencies, and all of that. So I'll just stop there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thank you, MJ. That is really insightful, and I agree with you 100%. I think AI has really transformed how startups even design their products, how they interact with customers. So 100% in terms of what this means for startups. So Nitya, having worked in the AI space and being an experienced developer yourself, what are the most significant changes that you have seen being brought about by AI? And you can share from a general perspective first, since you've been in the industry for quite some time.
Yeah, so I'll actually, and I'll follow up even on the previous speaker, because I think the most important revolution we're seeing is that generative AI is allowing people to do things through natural language. So I'll give you this example. I have in-laws in India, and she calls me up and she says, "Oh my God, I can get it to write and produce a recipe book for all my recipes by just talking to it." And I think we cannot undervalue the power of natural language. It means, and this is, we're developer advocates. So to us, it means everybody's now a developer. If you can talk to the system, you can do creative things with it. So from a general perspective, I actually see three things that are revolutionizing the industry, right? The first is we're seeing a whole slew of tools, frameworks. There's LangChain, AutoGen, Semantic Kernel, a lot of things coming in, recognizing that when natural language becomes the thing that's the input factor, you need to have other things to make that developer flow kind of seamless. So we're seeing a huge number of people there. And shout out to Hugging Face, which is one of my favorite communities, to go find all these things as they happen. The second thing that we're seeing is people who have applications today are rethinking them based on natural language. So there's this explosion of chatbots, as we know. And then the third thing I think is really the creativity. One of my favorite apps is on Hugging Face. It's called AI Comic. And there's actually even an AI tube where it's like someone just generating YouTube videos completely with AI, right? So I think that those are the three for me: tooling, streamlining existing workflows and rethinking them with natural language, and really tapping into creativity, because generative AI is about kind of creating content, right? Hope that helps.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And I remember a statement I once had that English is now kind of the new programming language. I've had that, and it's really accurate in that today, if you walk into a farm, ask a farmer, they'll tell you about how they're using AI. Walk into a law firm, you'll hear lawyers talking about how they're using AI. Walk into a bank, accountants will also mention how they're using ChatGPT and whatnot. So I think right now how everyone is just easily interfacing with the technology is what is causing this major disruption. So I think what you just shared really makes a lot of sense. And I see we have our fourth panelist, Adir. Would you mind introducing yourself and just quickly share one of the most interesting use cases of AI that you've had, either at work or in your personal life?
Yeah, hi. So I'm Adir. I'm the CTO at Microsoft for Startups. And actually, the most interesting one that I've seen is helping me qualify startups and what we need to do in order to help them in their journey. So I hope a lot of you are already part of our Founders Hub program, which is the program by Microsoft for Startups. And if you have, you know that we're working now on a Founders Hub Copilot, which will help you throughout the journeys of from ideation to building your first MVP, understanding what are the right tools in the right time frame for you to do your best as a founder with Microsoft and partner with us in the best way. And we're also surfacing a lot of content through those areas just to make sure that we're meeting the right content at the right time by learning from other founders and through AI. So I personally love the fact that this is really helping us kind of amplify what we can do for founders. We're not a big team in Microsoft for Startups, but now with a Copilot, we're actually a huge team because we have an AI companion for every founder in our program.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Adir. And probably allow me to ask a follow-up question, since I believe Founders Hub has been there for several years now, and we'll talk more about Founders Hub towards the end of the event. So I'm curious in terms of whether you've made any observations in terms of how startups are approaching things differently given the rise of AI. So if you were to compare startups pre the AI phase and those who are the startups that are emerging now, what are some of the key changes that you've been able to notice?
Yeah. So obviously AI was here for a while, but it was as a niche domain. So it was like very other domains within verticals that we've seen. And if we had a lot of startups that did a lot of depth work towards AI. But what I see right now is that this became a platform. So even if you're doing something that is not even related to AI, if you don't have any data scientists within your team, you still need to think that you're an AI first company. Not just because this is what the customers are looking for, but also because this is most of the VCs are looking for. We're actually seeing 2x of VCs investing in the past year on AI-based startups. And that's not just the ones that are building AI or large language models. Actually, there are AI ones that are building tools, security, enhancing the platform, or just taking this into their specific use cases. And what we've seen is that startups, when they're adding their own data and their own use cases, then they can formulate a very specific and dedicated assistant or AI copilot to their specific experience, which cannot be achieved in any other startups because it is based on their data, their APIs, their capabilities. So regardless to what LLMs can do, when LLMs are meeting any of those ideas, domains, industries, they're actually becoming something of a platform that enhances the original idea even further. We've seen this when mobile came. Every company became a mobile company, regardless to if they wanted to be, because that was the only delivery or the top delivery mechanism for you to meet your customers. So I think the same thing is happening right now. And obviously even startups that a year and a half from now didn't see themselves as an AI company are now calling themselves, we're an AI first company. We're doing this on financial services, on healthcare, on security, on any of those industries or platforms. And that's a massive change. And I think the good thing about this platform is that you don't really need to be a data scientist or an AI engineer to become an AI first company. As you didn't have to be building a mobile operating system to become a mobile first company. So I think once startups understand that they're riding that AI wave to the max, and this is definitely a big change.
Yeah, Yeah, well, thanks for that. And sounds to me as though AI is causing a major disruption, whether we like it or not. So that's something that you just have to kind of strategize and see how do you approach it. And the changes are sort of inevitable at this point. So thank you so much for that. And of course, we'll have more discussions around what specific actions startups can take. But before that, Samuel, I would like to maybe ask you from your own experience or from your perspective, how has this rise of AI transformed the traditional business models, and what are these new opportunities that are being created for entrepreneurs just for them to also position their startups up for success?
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to pick up of what everyone is saying. Yes, there is a huge disruption, in the way we do things traditionally. Funny enough, I was listening to a podcast just before this, and the presenter made a very, impressive comment. It says that in as much as there is a fear of AI is going to take some jobs and stuff like that, but imagine, a doctor, right, who actually prioritizes the patient he has to, the cases he has to attend to, because AI has pretty much done, that part of, based on the data that it has at hand. This is a more critical, patient or procedure to look at versus the other. So whichever way we look at it, our traditional ways of doing things is going to be 100 times way faster with the introduction or addition of AI. Whether we like it or yes, that's just a norm. From business automations, even from business idea generation, like I mentioned, we pretty much span of Crafted Climate like just in a year, and the amount of work we're doing in terms of analyzing the data, doing the forecast, all leveraging AI, and we are not like hardcore data scientists. So for entrepreneurs and probably startups coming up, it positions you to probably just jump off like decades of the process of traditional way of starting a business, having to worry about probably hiring some data scientists, some crazy programmers, and even in some cases, actuarial science people to do that. It provides a lot of opportunity. And one thing I actually appreciate about the whole the Microsoft AI ecosystem is the fact that the tools are making it much friendlier and easy. Like you rightly said, you just have to speak English to do it. So changing from our traditional ways of doing business, it is positioning us to go to market faster, to ideate product faster, to find insights in our business faster, and also to come up with new products. So I feel that it's a huge market that any business that is not looking at it is probably just lagging behind, and the competition will just surpass them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes total sense. Thank you so much for sharing that, Samuel. Yeah, and I agree with you. And on that note, since it looks like most startups really need to just redesign and think of how they can leverage AI, because from what you just shared, sounds like anyone not having the AI capabilities and advantages would actually be at a disadvantage in comparison to the other startups. So that now gives you bigger challenges probably over what you are facing. And on that note, we have a very good question that has been shared on the chat that I will just throw out there and allow anyone to pick it up. So someone is asking, what are some common challenges that startups face when implementing AI solutions, and how can they overcome them? So I don't know if anyone wants to speak to that question.
Yeah, I think I'll probably take a first step to it. I will start from it. It's still, taking a cue from the traditional ways of doing things. I feel that now the first challenge is there's still a myth that needs to be broken, right? Some people are still in that mindset that AI is this monster that you need to have certain infrastructure to run. So people that are not, exposed or don't have, more knowledge or recent knowledge about it, there's that fear of getting into it. However, now once you get into it, the problem I've seen a lot of startup faces where to start. We also need to be careful of going with the buzzwords. Like everybody think AI is everywhere. So pretty much the fact that there's a conversation that says I can apply AI to anything, they just jump into it. People also forget that AI works best, with data and data sets. So some people might be in some niche market or some niche category that might not have, there's some data aura, but there's not enough data for them to get started with. So for me, it's the fear of, that unknown. That's the first thing. And then the second part is even not even knowing what tools to use and how to even use the tools. So these are things that are that are the challenges, and that's why I'm excited that Microsoft a startup is doing this. I believe that with over time, once we get a lot of these startups and people, hey, this is there, the resources there, you can talk to an expert. You have all this credit available to you. There's an AI studio, very simple. You don't need. Once a lot of this sensitization is done, a lot of people can now jump on it and get started. And also, like I said, resources, right? Gone were the days, even before AI Studio came. Before you could run an AI or ML studio, you needed to run some beefy machine. And if you're not careful and you leave that VM on, you're racking up a lot of costs, in the cloud. But hey, thanks to the Startup Hub Foundation, like you have. I mean, I'm cruising about 25,000 now. I'm looking at the one. I'm hoping to get to level 4, and I don't have to worry about that, right? I just have to focus on the innovation and building, and that's the exciting thing. So those who want to get into it, Founders Hub, just get into that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Samuel. And yeah, it's exciting to also hear that you're also benefiting from Founders Hub to overcome some of these challenges. So I don't know if Adir, you might have something to share in terms of other challenges that you've seen other startups going through.
Yeah, so actually we've just celebrated 1 year of ChatGPT availability on Azure, and we've celebrated with a survey that we did across Founders Hub to actually try and answer that question. What is the top challenges? We actually found that there are 3. The first one, and I would say probably the biggest one that I'm hearing, is the pace of change. Startups, they try to find what would make them immutable when the train is still racing. So you don't want to build something and then find that like 3 months after one of the giants built it for you. And we're trying to build that immutability with using your own data, connecting this into your own IP, into your own APIs, making this immutable. So even if ChatGPT or GPT-5, 6, 7 will come, they will still don't have access to your API, your data, your experiences. So you will still be immutable. And we've seen a first wave of a lot of AI wrappers that try to like make prompting easier or do some of those. Those are not really immutable. They're not what we would invest, because the technology is racing so quickly that this is like a 3 months, and then OpenAI is doing a dev day, and a lot of startups are dev in the same day. So this will be the first one, is trying to think about immutability and working without the pace of change. The second, I would say, is calling something we call LLM Ops. It is part of Azure AI Studio, which means how do you take a good pilot into production? How do you think about the cost of that thing? Someone is paying for all of those ChatGPT calls. And if you're just offering this for free for your customers, that's a problem if you're scaling. That's really nice on a pilot phase. How do you do some of the things that are related to, choosing the right model, doing the right training? If then there's a new model that came out, how do you evaluate is it a good fit for you? So taking this, like we have DevOps, taking this as something of, production level thinking is actually a big focus. And Azure AI Studio is a great place to tackle a lot of those areas. And the last piece, and I would say it's more of a methodology kind of area, AI is quite different from a lot of architectures because it's fuzzy. It's not binary. Most of the developers and architectures you're building, if you're doing this, this was what was going to happen. There's like a thinking of an engineer, a 0 or 1. This is the first time we're actually introducing something which is much more fuzzy. We don't actually know what the AI is going to say in most cases. There should be a lot of guardrails, understanding that is also connected to responsible AI, to hallucinations, to those areas, because you need to guardrail what AI is speaking in your behalf. And it's very different. I've seen a lot of technical founders that have faced some struggles in understanding this. Because if you're coming from 20 years of technology, that if you're building this happens. If it's not happening, that this is a bug. Here, it's actually a feature, because LLMs, they have their own way. And even if you do the same thing and calling the same one, you may not get the same exact answer. And thinking about that sort of architecture is a little bit challenging for a lot of startups, because it has to change, some of the way that we're actually building software. And understanding we're not going to be able to control everything. So we're going to have to start putting guardrails on technology and not let it run wild. And I think responsible AI and some of the things that we've done is actually a really, really good place to start, to mitigate some hallucinations, to make sure that the technology is always speaking in your behalf and not doing its own thing, but it is something that you can't, it's very fuzzy. It's not binary. So that is a different mindset when you're introducing that technology.
Yeah. There's almost not knowing what AI will just spit out. Just expect almost anything. You just have to be prepared to kind of just handle that. But yeah, I hear you in terms of how rapidly this space is moving, where you can have a really awesome idea, but before you even make any move, AI can instantly just do that, right? It's a bit worrying. So Nitya, I don't know if you have anything to share. That from what I've picked up even from Samuel and Adir as well, is that there's a lot of training and education that needs to go on to even the technical founders who are implementing these AI solutions. So is there anything that you can share probably in terms of available resources or just your input on the topic?
Absolutely. And I also have to reinforce what Adir said. Founders Hub, the number one thing you're going to need is talking to experts. And I think you cannot undervalue all the people you can get realistic advice from. In terms of resources, I'm going to talk about 3 things. I think when you jump into this space, you're going to be really confused because there's things happening every day, all the time. So pick one thing and get good at one thing. Don't try to weight the whole thing. So definitely there are collections that are being shared on the chat. We have one for Azure AI Studio, which I kind of look at as the code first collection. If you're looking at building it and you're more code focused, there's obviously going to be collections that you can look at, which are no code, like you can go use a studio. So first thing, go look for something that will teach you the basics. Shout out to our Generative AI for Beginners series. We should put the link in the chat. That will teach you all the basic concepts that you need. Next, you want to go look for labs and learn modules that will teach you the next level up. Now, you know the terminology. How do you build an end-to-end application? Shout out, there is, I'll put the collection in the chat. We do have a reference implementation called Contours with Chat, which will teach you everything in LLM Ops lifecycle, code first. So definitely look at that. Third, responsible AI. I am hugely appreciative of Adir bringing this up. That has to be one of the things that you shift left in your development cycle. Think of responsible AI early. Don't put it as an afterthought. And if you're interested in that, we have a responsible AI hub for developers that we will be keeping up to date. It's a one-stop shop where you can go and pick up 3 workshops and a whole bunch of resources to get you skilled up on the terminology, the pipeline, the tools, and so on. So I'll put those links in the chat. Hope that helped.
Yeah, Nitya, and sorry, before you just leave, and it's good that we were already talking about responsible AI, but allow me to just request you to briefly describe what that even means, just in case we have someone who's wondering what do I even need to do to ensure that I'm using AI responsibly. I think this one shouldn't just pass by without definition.
Yes,
yeah.
This is so close to my heart. So yes, at a very high level, responsible AI is understanding that AI moves fast, and if you don't take care, you could harm people. So you want to make sure that you've put guardrails on your AI so that you are acting fairly. You are accountable for the decisions you make, that there is transparency. When some decision is made, someone can say, why did that happen? That you are trying to make sure that there is diversity of your data and so on. But when you think about generative AI and you think about AI in general, I want you to think of 3 things for responsible AI. Start shifting left. When you make your models, make sure that your data is representative. Make sure that your error rates, the accuracy is not generic. It's true for all the various demographics. Maybe it works really well for a certain demographic, but for not another. That is a fairness issue. So we have tools like the Responsible AI Dashboard and the Responsible AI Toolbox, which is open source, that you can check out. So start by debugging your model for Responsible AI. Once you're ready, as Adir pointed out, you want to operationalize it and put it into a pipeline for generative AI where you're building applications. That comes to the second point in responsible AI, which is evaluation. Make sure that your app, the things that it's saying in natural language, make sure that you've got evaluations that look to see that it's not saying harmful things. It's not saying things that are that use metaphors that are violence and things like that. There is a whole set of things you can look for. Last but not least, when you operationalize, if you go to some place like Azure AI Studio, there's content filtering, there's Azure Content Safety. It makes sure that not only are you gating for the inputs coming in, but you're gating on the outputs going out. And you can tighten those gates, right? You can say, make sure I'm not allowing copyrighted content. Make sure that I'm not allowing jailbreaking and so on. So yeah, responsible AI is a continuum. It really is about those 6 principles, and there is a link for that we can share. But it's about looking at it from the holistic part of your data and your model generation all the way through into evaluating a generative AI application and putting content safety when you deploy in production. I love this stuff. So.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's really.
I quickly want to add something to that. And that's just it sometimes feels frustrating, but in the long term, I kind of understand why that was. So if you look at the approach that Microsoft is using for responsible AI, you need to apply for the program, like the product you want to build. You need to specific on how you want to use it and all that. Initially, when I was going through that process, I felt that that's just too much work. I just want to use it. And then later, after going through, the principle, I was like, wait, this is actually a good thing, because then I get to be, make sure my data set is all inclusive and I tick all those boxes. Now, versus all these other third-party generative AI or AI stuff that is going on, which really doesn't have a lot of guardrails. I mean, you're opening yourself to a lot of, liabilities and suit all over there. But sticking with this, I feel that even Microsoft has done a lot of work, in the early stages in its platform to safeguard you from that. You just have to follow the principles, and I think you'll be good.
I have to maybe be the devil's advocate here, because I hear a lot of founders saying, yeah, we know it's important, but we have so much to do in our MVP, so that's not going to be a priority. And I have to say, there's a few things that are happening now in the ecosystem that may want, you can take it to your CEO if you're a CTO and say, you know what, that's not a nice to have anymore. One is the AIU Act that has been passed 6 weeks ago. That is putting financial incentives for you to make sure that you're operating safely, fairly, and without bias. And there are very easy ways to prove that you're either doing this or not. So once you put, the ability for you to work in the EU market, or even getting some of those penalties, that is changing the discussion from we want to do this because that's the right thing to do, to we want to do this because if we don't do this, we can't work on certain domains, certain markets, and that's going to cost us a lot of money in penalties. So I know we all want us to, do this from the right reasons, but I also appreciate that some founders don't see this as a priority unless you put money and ecosystem or customer reach as part of it. So just know that it is part of it today. It's only growing. There's already penalties that we're seeing also in the US when AI is speaking in behalf of a company, and actually a court has mandated that what AI is mentioning in your behalf is something that you need to be accounted for. So there's a lot of reasons here beyond just doing good, which is a very good reason. But I know for startups with, all of the work that they need to do may not be the first one. This is something you need to take into account. It's not like security that, something is not patched right. You may be able to hush it for a while. And we all are founders working with startups. We know that that's the way to go. This is not the same thing. Okay, there's penalties here. There's liability here. There's markets that will be locked if you're not taking that mindset. So take it as more of a commercial business approach as well. If you're not doing this from the right reason, there's definitely a lot of other reasons to do this as well.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for that input. And yeah, makes a lot of sense. If you don't start designing with responsible AI in mind, you're definitely going to lose at some point. And the more your startup grows, the bigger that loss is going to be for you. So I'm really glad that you've shared that, and I'm hoping that those founders on the stream today will be able to pick this up. And if you need to re-strategize, believe me, it's not too late to do that. I can see we have a very active engagement on the chat, so keep your questions coming. We'll address as many as we can on this stream, but if we are not able to do that as the event continues, we'll still be able to answer them all. So I see we have Olajumoke back on stage. So I have one question for you. I'm a founder, and I've adopted AI in my startup. So I'm wondering, how does success look like for this AI startup? So just join this space. I'm very excited about my AI product. So help me understand, what does success look like for AI solutions? MJ, can you
hear me?
Yes, perfect. Loud and clear. Do you want me to repeat the question?
So I don't know. Can you come over that? I didn't quite get that. Hello, can you hear?
Okay, yeah. So my question is, I'm assuming I am a founder and I've just adopted AI in my startup. So I'm wondering how success looks like for this AI solution. So how can I measure the impact of AI on my startup, and how can I be able to actually say that I am heading in the right direction, having implemented artificial intelligence? Sorry, MJ, I don't know if you can hear us clearly. All right, so I think we can just circle back to that. Or Alexei, if you can have Nurup on the stage, he can answer that question for us. Go ahead, Nurup. You're muted. Sorry, you're muted.
Sorry, that's a great question in terms of how do you measure the benefits of AI? For us at 321 Go Check, there are two simple ways. One on the costing side and two on the saving side. AI is only impactful if it's going to save our end clients time. What we're finding is that we are reducing administration for our clients by as much as 80%. Right, so an activity that would take 24 hours in terms of turning around, we can actually now do in seconds, literally seconds. So one of the key measures for us is whether or not by deploying AI solutions for our end clients, is it saving them time? And the reality is, as organizations grow and adopt more and more AI, the expectation is that the benefits of AI will be realized immediately. And one way for us to do that is by showing our clients using our checking solution on the client side rather than wait 24 hours for an outcome. All you need to do is engage with our bot and you can get immediate response. The other way we are measuring whether or not AI is helpful is on the cost side. If you're not careful, you can run up a lot of costs using AI models. So one of the things we're trying to do is to make sure that the model we're using is, we want to make sure that from a cost point of view, over the long run, we know what those costs are going to be. So unless you're saving money yourselves, as opposed to using people to generate or produce an outcome, and unless that's the AI saving the client's money, then you're probably not going to get the true benefits of AI. So in summary, again, then Julia, delivering benefits that's measurable to the client, and two, in the long run as a company, we're seeing the cost savings. Otherwise, it's cheaper maybe just to hire people.
Yeah, makes sense. And I think just from what you've shared from your own personal experience, cost optimization sounds to be like a very key thing for startups to also be aware of. And I don't know if Nitya, you'd want to add anything about cost for startups.
Oh, I'll
especially
take
when
just a second, because the minute Nurup mentioned it, I was like, oh, we got to talk about models as a service, because that on pay-as-you-go options, because I absolutely agree. Cost is the number one thing for startups. And until you shouldn't be investing in unlimited stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of say that Azure has this pay-as-you-go with models as a service option. But I also wanted to talk about the fact that allows you to also go and look at models that are not OpenAI centric. So you might want to kind of see Cohere is coming up, and then there is Mistral and Llama and all of those, right? So yeah, that's all I wanted to say, that there's two options for cost, and we should definitely make sure people are aware of it.
Yeah, models as a service. So yeah, again, this sounds like there's just a lot happening in that space. So also just being curious to understand, hey, what are the options? Exhaust all the options that you have. You will likely find a solution that kind of fits the specific case and needs of your startup. So I have a question that I think is also closely related to what we're already talking about, and I think it's something that founders should really have at the back of their minds. And with this AI hype, it's really tempting to quickly just decide to add AI into my product. So how can entrepreneurs strike a balance between innovation and practicality when they're building their AI solution. So I know at this point you can easily just dream big and jump straight into writing code, making investments, but how or what would you advise entrepreneurs to do in order to strike that balance between innovation and practicality? And I would leave this out for anyone to just pick it.
I'm happy to respond if that helps.
Cool.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, when you're done, I'll add mine to it. Go for it.
So our approach is really, really simple. Our approach starts off with the idea that we need to have data that we've got control over. That's the first basic principle. And by that, I mean, if you are building a solution where you're relying on third parties' data, then it doesn't matter how great an AI model you have, you're not going to have control over what you're delivering. So the first step for us is knowing where our data is, how do we manage it, who owns it, and then with that in mind, how do we then account for regulation? So AI is only going to be impactful for us as a company if we've got control over our data and we've got control over the regulations. Meaning that if we're operating in the EU or in North America, we need to be really, really clear that we know the impact regulation is going to have over the data and the end product we're delivering. So from a practicality point of view, AI is great, yes, but it's only really practical and efficient and helpful if you know the data you've got and you know the regulations you must follow. And if we've got control over those two things in equal proportions. And as long as we continue to monitor and have control over regulation and data, we can apply any types of AI across any regions to have that same impact over the long run. So that's our approach, Julie, in terms of being practical and being effective over the long run. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, pretty solid response. Thank you so much, Nirup. Would anyone else want to pick it up? I think we only have time for two more questions.
Yeah, I think I just want to add up to what Nirup said, which is having a very core and solid business plan, or you should know what your core business is, right? And then also looking technically at the market needs, and that's your super cool AI idea, right? It's so easy to just jump on the bandwagon and think you're doing something which is probably not a market fit. People might not really have the need for it and investing all the time and stuff for it. So that's something we need to be, you need to be very aware of. You need to make sure you have a solid business, core business plan or module, and you need to know what you're going into, what your market segment actually needs, right? And then also factor in the cost of acquiring the data. Like Nirup said, sometimes, for the kind of AI project you're working on, you might not have the data or own the data, right? Consider that as well. Is it going to cost me more to get this data to do it? Then in the long term, it's probably not viable. So I'll just add these two things to to what Nirup said.
And I'll just add in one
fantastic
question. Oh, sorry, Julia. I was going to say there is a link in the chat, but the one thing I'm going to say is this is what we've heard a lot of developers say: starting is hard, like getting all the different pieces. So if you can get a starter template that gives you all the stuff where you can go in and just remove that, put your own data, and remove this, put your own stuff in, and go from there, that is useful. So there's a resource that would have been shared in chat called Awesome AZD. Keep an eye out on it during build. That's all I'm going to say. But there are also a bunch of samples on Azure AI. There's an OpenAI cookbook. There's a lot of places. But yeah, my number one advice to all of you is pick a starter that's already baked, learn how that works, and then start changing stuff in it. It's the fastest way to get yourself, up and running while understanding the challenges.
Awesome, fantastic. And you mentioned build. I'll give you a minute to just talk more about it towards the end. But yeah, thank you so much. And I know that we've been sharing a lot of links. So what we'll do, we'll have one collection and we'll consolidate all these links for you. So we'll drop that link will have been shared. So I think a question that I've also spotted on the chat, which I think is really key, is in terms of what you guys think on how startups can leverage AI to create a unique value proposition and hopefully just have a competitive edge in this crowded and competitive market. So I don't know if anyone would like to briefly speak towards that.
I can start. Maybe I can just share some of the things that we've seen. Um, I think the biggest thing is
Okay,
that
so I
when
think I can take that. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, MJ, we can hear you.
Hello? Okay, great. All right, so if I get the question is how startups can have competitive advantage in the market, what solution they can focus on building, that's the question. Um, Julia.
Yes,
So
yes.
I'll take for example, um, let's take for example the waste management and recycling sector really. For me, if you look at the way you can apply machine learning in waste management, you can actually see a way you can build or use machine learning models to analyze things like waste composition, for example, how it is sorted, how they are recycled, and all of the processes that involves all of that, even from the part of resource recovering and all of that. So leveraging AI, you can actually reduce, you can see how you can build solutions, really AI powered solution that can be more efficient and effective when it comes to waste management um, part of it in terms of the recycling and both in terms of the recycling, so you can see how you can build solution around that. So I'll say for me, that's one of the areas. When you look at an area of smart energy, again, is another part of it. Recently, I think I was having a conversation with Samuel, and there was this request, and this is just like on the side. There was this request of how can we monitor some form of vitalization on the pipelines? These are solutions you're looking for in the oil sector. You can actually build a solution around that. Let's say again you build a solution around smart energy management. Things that can improve um, areas like demand forecasting, energy consumption, optimization, AI solution that can actually determine things like peak load management. You can actually play around in the energy sector also. I remember having a discussion recently with someone, and I was saying that how is it possible that the way I can do so today with my airtime, in loading my airtime, I can also effectively just load from my mobile device, and then the thing trigger in my own environment in Nigeria anyway, immediately triggers my meter, so to say, my prepaid meter, and then I can have that. So you can see a way where you can build AI into smart energy system or into energy sector. Another thing is around remote healthcare. So I'm looking at the situation where today the health sector, you can actually look for ways to improve patient care. Um, the last event I was in Microsoft office in Nigeria, I saw these young people, they built something very, very intelligent around telemedicine and all of that. You see solutions that can actually determine where you have very high rise of pandemic and how you can actually get that curb immediately. You have how people can have a way of personalized medicine where people can get attention immediately from a call, and then all of those things with virtual reality and augmented reality, and building all of those solutions, and you can see how medical chatbots are coming up. So those are areas I feel that people can actually leverage on and have competitive advantage. And lastly, I think agriculture is one. Agriculture is a place where you can actually do a lot today. For agriculture, you can do more of precision agriculture, where you can have IoT devices on your livestock. You can determine the disease pattern. You can look at situation where those early enough you can detect it, and then see how you can also provide solution on time. You can see how livestock are being livestock are generated, giving birth to, and all of that, the death rate and all of that. So those are things for me in the areas that I believe startups can start playing into, and I'm hopeful that as people get into this, we'll close that gap enough, where you have a lot of, it is only big companies or large organizations that can play in this stage, but startups can actually play more around it also.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, MJ. And I love that you're actually sharing examples. So that's really insightful. What I've picked up for competitive edge, of course, analyze and see how you can use AI to improve on your efficiency, to improve your effectiveness, have optimal solutions, leverage personalization for what you deliver to your clients, and of course, how can you use AI to also ensure that your products are better in terms of accessibility. So thank you so much. I know we're out of time, but I will allow 1 minute for each panelist to give us their final thoughts as you answer the question, what would you advise to anyone looking to build their own startup in this era of AI? So 1 minute for each panelist, and then we'll move on to the next section. Let's start with you, Samuel.
Yeah, so for me, just like Jumoke said, there are a lot of areas where I think AI is applicable, but I always like to say start from the low-hanging fruit. Like, look around you. What is the that little thing that is being a pain point? That little thing that you feel, if I add, you just start from, just think about automation, right? Think about it from that perspective. That this thing I'm doing now, that's a pain point. How would it be more useful or more easier for me if I added, some level of automation or AI to it, right? If I had some insight and some knowledge, would this process be faster? And this could be, you could be in the banking sector, how you do customer service. You could be like, like Jumoke said, in the energy sector, how to determine, load peak load and stuff like that. So I would say that whatever it is, look around you. There are a lot of problems, or I don't call them problems, challenges around you that you could find a fit. Sometimes you don't need to think too big. You look at the big picture, you might probably just get lost. For all you know, it's just that little challenge that you just have to add AI to, or add some kind of tech to, and that solves a lot of problems. There was an example of these scans for babies. I think there's a startup in Kenya or Uganda that builds a very inexpensive scanning device, right? Take the pictures, run it through some AI model, and it was almost as accurate as the big machines. I use myself as an example. We realized that Ghana didn't have a lot of reference monitors. So when the air quality gets bad, right, you're only looking at 2 reference monitors that are providing the data, which is not enough. So we saw that challenge and said, can we build low-cost sensors that still collects the data, run some AI on it, which will make it, compared to reference data, which will give you as accurate, air quality information as possible. And we saw that challenge, and then we're solving it with Craft Climate. So look around you. It could be from your house, start from your house, and then it will scale up. So that would be my advice for anyone wanting to get into it. And when you're ready, obviously, look at the Microsoft for startups. There's a lot of credits for you to play around. Don't worry about the money and infrastructure.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Samuel. Great insights. Nitya, over to you in 1 minute. Just share your final thoughts.
I'm fast. All right. So my final thoughts, I'm going to give you the power of 2. If you're going to be in a startup, you're going to need 2 things. You're going to need a platform, and you're going to need a community, because you need to grow your technology skills, but you can't do it without having the right people to work with you. So my advice to you is going to be as follows. Pick one platform. Don't try to learn everything. And of course, I'm going to say Azure, but it doesn't have to be. You can go to an open source community. In fact, I would actually advocate you set up a Hugging Face profile, start playing with things there, come over to Azure to productize. There are paths to that. But that would be the thing. Pick a platform and learn one thing and learn it well. For community, cannot emphasize enough how important it is to connect with people in your community. There is a Discord, there's Global AI community, there is Hugging Face, there are many communities, and there's the Founders Hub having their own expert community. You need to be in the conversations where you can connect to people who think like you and have the skills that you lack. And that itself will help you form the team. Last, I'll just leave you with this thought. There are no new ideas in the world. I will tell you this. I've been in tech for a long time. There are no new ideas. It's just reinvention for new contexts. What that means is your startup idea could just be you saying, that's been done for 10 years, but with natural language, I can make it better. Or it could be like someone's already done it with natural language, but they didn't do it in my mother tongue in India, and we've got 100 of them. I can still refine it. Natural language has extreme possibilities. So, yep, that's my 1 minute. Hopefully I got it in there.
Super powerful. Thank you so much, Nitya. And on communities, we do have our very own AI Discord community, so ensure you join that before you leave today. Adir, your 1 minute final thought starts now.
I think we've talked a lot about AI use cases. I would actually try and opt to look again at AI as a platform, which means that in the peripherals, there's a lot of great innovations that actually created a lot of great companies when we've seen like cloud companies or cloud came in or mobile came in. Think about, if we're thinking about mobile, like Uber or Airbnb, those companies are built on top of a platform, but they're not really doing something with mobile. They're just using that form factor. Same thing with cloud. There's a lot of tools for multi-cloud, for security on cloud, for cost optimization, for management. And those are some of the biggest startups or unicorns in the world today. So if we are looking at a new platform, there's a lot of tools, ideas, form factors that we can still instill on top of it, and just try to leverage or kind of build something that is bigger in terms of ecosystem. So don't just look at AI in terms of what can I do with AI. It's actually, how can I enforce some of that platform to be more matured, more rigid? And again, look at unicorns today on the cloud side, the biggest companies that and think about, would this idea be applicable for AI as well? For security, optimization, cost management, and stuff like that. And the second piece that I would really say is things are moving very quickly and they're going into the multimodality world. And I think we talked a lot about large language model in this context, but I'm actually thinking it's just, a phase towards something which is much bigger. So I would actually try, if you're building something today, to explore how to do multi-models, how to do GPT-4 with vision, how to start working with some of those video capabilities as well. Because I know it sounds kind of funny to say because it's such an amazing technology, but LLMs are just a little bit part of the past now. We're actually seeing this as just one of the leg of something that would be far bigger, far faster, what we've seen. So if you're starting to build right now, start to build with the future in mind and not with the past in mind.
All right, awesome. And lastly, MJ, we're already over time, but I'll allow you just a few seconds to share your final thoughts. MJ, are you there? Sorry, I think we're really tight on time. So I think if we're not able to connect to you, MJ, we can just share your outro on the chat. But with that, I will invite Lee to come and take us through the next section where we'll now speak with founders who are already part of Founders Hub, and they will share some of the technical demos of how they're leveraging different benefits from Founders Hub. So again, thank you so much for the awesome panelists that we've had today. Just drop with us, drop on the chat how we can connect with you in case we have further questions. And with that, I'll just invite Lee to come on stage and take it away. Thank you all so much.
Hi, Julia.
Hey, Lee.
Great to be here. Great to be here. So thank you for this session. So I'm going to be covering a great introduction to some startups who are actually using Founders Hub. So I'd like to welcome to the stage Ed Shih, who is the CTO and co-founder of Ignitus. He spent his career building cloud platforms, machine learning solutions at both big tech companies and startups. So he's got both the big industry and the startup industry. Our second panelist is Panjak Kareel, who's a seasoned tech architect. I've known Panjak for a few years because he used to be at Microsoft. So he's built AI and cloud solution architectures, backend development, and he's now leading Pankaj AI. So if we can bring in Pankaj as well, that'd be great. Hi, Pankaj.
How are you?
And we'll also now introduce our final speaker, who is Dr. Robert Gomez Reno. He's a CEO of Cleverist, which is an industrial 4.0 software solutions company. It's all about IoT and system solutions. Robert actually began his work at CERN with the Large Hadron Collider, so he's done lots of work with particle physics, it sounds like. So he developed lots of time designing, developing, and integrating control systems for pretty advanced industrial solutions. So a great mixture of people who've got industry best practice, now startups. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce each of these and let the speakers introduce themselves a bit and talk about their history. And they're actually going to then give us a demo of the solutions that they've been working on. So first of all, we'll go to Ed. So Ed, great to meet you.
Hey Lee, and hey everyone on the stream. Yeah, it's great to be here. As Lee said, you know, I'm Ed. I've worked in big tech, startups, machine learning, and cloud computing mostly has been my focus. Just really excited to be here and tell you a bit more about my company. But I guess we'll get to that when we do the demo in a minute.
Cool, Ed. So tell us a little about what Ingentus is then. What do you do?
Yeah, so we're Ignitus, I guess, and what we're trying to do is make career advice, like great career advice, accessible to everyone. So the problem kind of stems from the fact that like a bunch of people go through work and all make the same mistakes. You know, we all become a manager for the first time, or don't really know how to deal with difficult bosses or whatever. And the like traditional solution that everyone says is get a mentor, right? Mentors are fantastic. We love them, but they're kind of luck based, right? If you get a really, really good mentor, let's say Bobby has like this fantastic person who's mentoring him and he has a fast track career. Like, why can't other people in his situation also have that great advice? And that's what we're trying to do, is we're going to take great mentoring and coaching advice, make it accessible to everyone through a kind of, you know, learning platform that also incorporates AI and video coaching all at once.
Cool. So, you know, how has Founders Hub and Microsoft Startups helped you from a technology perspective and a business support perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's been super valuable, right? The you know, access to the Microsoft tech stack, you know, from business tools to the Azure services that we're using, has just meant that we can get off the ground running really quickly. You know, not having to worry too much about costs, about, you know, fundraising super early. We can focus on building this thing, right, and getting feedback from users before we go and raise, and then, you know, really start to scale up from there. So it's been super useful, and we're now starting to use the expert network too, and talk to people there as well.
Excellent. So let's see what it's like then. Show us what your system can do.
Cool. So yeah, if I can share my screen, that'd be amazing. And then. So it should be set. Lee, you'll just have to confirm.
We can see your screen. Yeah, cool.
Okay, so I'm going to dive straight in, basically. Now, obviously, career coaching is a huge domain, right? And there's a lot of things to cover. What we wanted to do first was just pick a small niche and see if we could nail that, right? So what we've built first is this salary negotiation coaching tool, and the idea is that's the kind of skill that like your company's never going to give you, right? They don't want you to know how to negotiate a better salary, right? And actually, over 50% of people never bother negotiating at all when it comes to salary. And there's a lot that gets left on the table. So we want to try and help people through that. And I'll show you this. So let's jump in and say, let's take the full coaching experience, right? So it's going to ask a few quick questions. You know, when is your negotiation, right? Maybe if it's like coming up super soon, we have to cram and make sure the guidance is pretty quick. But if you have more time, we might be able to do more prep. So let's say we've got something on Friday. And then we'll jump in. You don't necessarily have to read all of this. I'm going to kind of talk you through it. But you're going to get welcomed in, and you end up with this kind of, you know, ChatGPT style interface. But what we're going to do is we're going to add video content. We're going to build goals and create playlists around the user as they're chatting in order to make this a much richer experience. And by the way, everything that's happening is backed by expert advice from a salary negotiation coach, right? So let's say, I don't know, I have a final interview on Friday, and I think they are going to make me an offer. I don't know how I can maximize the salary, right? So I can just say something simple like that. And you'll notice, right, because it's a coach, it's not just going, you know, ChatGPT would just spit out an answer. What it's doing here is like, actually, I need to dig a bit deeper. And it's saying, well, how do you feel about your ability to negotiate? Have you done this before? No, this is my first time. I'm pretty scared, to be honest. Right, let's say something like that. And you know, and it's kind of empathizing as well. It's like, oh, I totally get it. It can be daunting. You know, is there a particular aspect that you're worried about? And I might say like, I don't know, I'm worried that they'll rescind the offer. I don't know how to spell rescind. I think there's an S in there. The offer if I push too hard, right? That's something that's really common, that people think, oh, you know, I don't want to ask for too much, right? They'll just think, oh, you're greedy, and they'll give the offer to someone else. And then it just says, you know, do you have a clear understanding of the value? And actually, you know, maybe I don't. I haven't really thought about this because I haven't done it before. So you say, not really, right? And what we'll see here, right, is now the coach is going away. It's asked a bunch of questions. It's got enough information to start to recommend things to me. And you can see, you know, based on our conversation, it wants to start with some content around hacks to master your fears, which sounds really good, right? I haven't done it before. I'm terrified that they'll remove the offer. So I'll say, like, yeah, let's go ahead with that. And actually what you can see if you look on the left side of the screen is that as we were chatting back and forth, the app has also picked up on, you know, what are the kind of goals that we could work towards for this. And it's picked up, you know, mastering the fear of negotiating, understanding my value, learning negotiation techniques, learning to overcome fear on the day, and then to actually do the negotiation. And those are goals that I can kind of step through as a user. And I can learn and build my confidence towards this. So let's see what, you know, the answer has come back with when we, you know, this, remember, just for context, it said, like, let's start with some content around mastering your fears. So there's kind of 4 steps in here, you know, acknowledge your fear, focus on the outcome, rationalize it, and then use some mindfulness techniques. And what you're seeing as well is that the app here has also recommended a video. It says, you know, I've selected this coaching video for you where Ben tackles the tricky terrain of fears and doubts in the nerve-wracking world of salary negotiation. And we could watch that video, we can engage with it, we can ask questions about the video, we can ask for more videos from Ben on specific topics. And so, I mean, rather than watching it all together, right, we don't have very long, so I'm just going to dive in and say, let's try something else. You know, what were your biggest fears when it comes to negotiation? Well, I still think, you know, it was that thing I said earlier, right? I'm still worried that they'll remove the offer and I'll appear greedy or something. And let's see if it has, you know, specific advice on that topic as well. Now, what you'll see, right, is the app at this stage, you know, we're still testing this out, right? This is our first competency we've built, and obviously we want to be able to tackle everything in people's careers. You know, deal with situations like, I think I might be about to get fired. What should I do? And you'll get, you know, advice from an employment lawyer, advice from an HR professional, all the kind of, you know, people that you would use in your network if you had a really good network of people across all industries to pull on to get that advice. And we can see here, right, this, you know, talking about the being worried that they'll remove the offer. Again, it's given me a bunch of steps and techniques and things I can use. And you'll see that it's actually also recommended another video here. So it's saying, you know, here, this video, Ben talks about that, you know, the 2 giants of negotiation anxiety, the fear of being too bold and the dread of losing the offer. So this is like highly relevant to what we were talking about. And that's the whole point of this, right? If you think of traditional e-learning, you kind of have to jump through menus and everyone does the exact same course. And there might only be like a couple of videos that are super relevant to you in the course, but you have to kind of jump through it and try and understand what those are to get to them. The idea with this is it's all contextually aware and it works for your situation, whereas someone else might be too confident and actually they need a bit of reining back. Finally, let's say, I'm just going to agree with it here. It's saying, you know, would you like to learn a bit more about how to remain cool in the face of dirty negotiation techniques? And so what it's doing now is it's giving me some advice on, you know, if I'm receiving pressure from the other end, you know, maybe it's a boss or an HR professional or even a recruiter that I'm speaking to, and they're pushing back and saying, no, you know, the budget's set, right? We don't think you have the skill set to command that salary. Here are a bunch of techniques and tips you can use to combat that. And like we had earlier, you'll see again another highly relevant videos coming up here, you know, how to overcome the fear on the day whilst you're actually doing it. Final thing to highlight is you can see on the left-hand side, right, now that we've been conversing back and forth, it's picked up a bit of what we're talking about, and it's saying, do you want to go ahead and generate this personalized growth playlist? So yeah, let's do it. And you can see actually what it's done is it's created me 2 playlists in here, one about mastering fears, another one around how to resist pressure. And these are, videos I can use in here, discussing salary at the start. That one talks about, whether you should mention it at the beginning or you should wait. Quick bit of advice for everyone. The answer is wait, right? Try and articulate how valuable you are before you put a number in front of them. Otherwise, they're always trying to judge you based on the number you've given, and they might have written you off immediately. So yeah, that's the app. I'm just going to jump super quick in here and talk a little bit about what we've done with Microsoft. So in terms of Founders Hub, the benefits we've been using, obviously we're heavily using the OpenAI service, both the credits directly through OpenAI and the Azure OpenAI service. We use the app service a lot. So we have, a website, a static app on there, but we have, like the front end and a bunch of back end services that all run on the app service. There's a cache that we're using Redis in there, the Azure cache for Redis. It looks after session data, make sure it's super responsive and you get fast things. And then we have Cosmos DB. We're actually using the Mongo version of that, just because we like the API and the ecosystem of tools around the open source. That's for kind of storing all the proper user data and session data and so on. Then we have container registry. So that's when we build our apps, they all get built into containers and then they're deployed to the app service. And finally, we have some functions in there as well. So there's stuff like after you have a coaching session, you get an email recap. But what that does is this looks at how many users have had coaching sessions in the last few hours. If they haven't engaged again for let's say 3 hours, maybe we can assume their session's finished and we send them a recap and say here's what we went through, here are the videos and you can jump back in and see it if you want. And then finally, the expert network, which I think I mentioned earlier to Lee, but a really good way to start reaching out to people, within Microsoft and elsewhere who have experience in startups, raising money, marketing, technical resources. There are tons of people on there and you can find the right people for you. So for us, we've just reached out to a guy who has some educational background and has worked in marketing and pricing solutions, which is stuff we really want advice on. A quick thing on future plans, if I have time, you can shout if I'm not done, if I need to finish. But on the short term, from what you've seen there, the salary negotiation tool, we want to add more structure to it. It's one of the feedbacks we hear over and over again. People want practice mode. That's coming quite soon. So you'll be able to practice a negotiation before you go into it. And then some salary benchmarks. We're building some agents to go and pull live data and tell you what realistic benchmarks are for what your role is. Medium term, we want to add things around this. So, interview prep and tools around that, how to find the right job, writing a really good CV, all of these kind of things so that we can nail that kind of job hunt style part of the career. And then longer term, we want to move into the full career coach. So, career planning, what your long-term goals look like, as well as all that situational advice I mentioned, I think I'm going to get fired, or, my client's being really difficult. What do I do in this situation? And then finally, start to add more upskilling on there as well, so that people are equipping themselves with the right soft skills and to be able to be successful and fast track in their career. So that was all. I think you can play with it and test it all out yourself. It all lives at ignitus.app. I wanted to thank you for listening. And if you have questions, you can probably stick them in the chat and I'll try and answer there. Or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm Ed Shee, and I'll send a link to that in the chat too.
Great,
yeah,
thanks
very much.
Awesome. So yeah, I really love the design. I think, the RAG pattern's really interesting, how you've got the specialized input from the different mentors. Again, your AI feels like it's got emotion. That's another good thing. And I love the subtle elements in the UI UX. So as you were, as the AI was thinking about the response, there was that subtle glow. And so, there's some really nice aspects there. So awesome work. I think, definitely a huge opportunity there. I love the way you've done the video playlist and the personalized learning plans as well. So lots of different aspects. I think, again, just to give people ideas, that's pretty multimodal for any industry. So I think you've got a great opportunity there. And again, stressing the expert network, as you said, we have Microsoft staff and mentors in that network from pretty any discipline. So if you want business people, marketing people, technical people, there is people to reach out to. So huge thank you for that, and a great demo of what Ignitus is building. So thank you.
No problem. Can I please just add one final thing, I think, as it follows on from the discussion earlier, but that multimodal piece, right? The really exciting thing, I think, for me about this is that right now we're combining text and video because that's what people are familiar with, and that's what we can do easily with the models. But as things like generative avatars become more and more accessible, cheaper, and real time, I see a world where your coach can be the person with the expert, and it looks and feels and sounds exactly like them, and you jump on a video call with them. And that's where we really want to get to, and it'd be super cool.
Yeah, so there's going to be lots of things happening around multimodal and avatars. So again, have a look at Windows AI Studio and Microsoft AI Studio, which we shared in the chat. Lots of resources there around that resource. So Pankaj, over to you, and tell us a bit about Panka AI.
Yeah, hi Lee, hi everyone. So basically, the Punk AI, Punk means wings in Hindi, and the way we are trying to do is we are trying to shorten up the LLM size as well as fine tune using novel techniques like QLoRa, Unsloth, so that we can reduce the size of LLM and maintain the efficiency, so that we can do daily based operation. Currently, I've been working with my friend who is a dentist, working on a project where we can answer and generate questions for students who are preparing for BDS exam or for their MDS exam. Also, I've been constantly using Founder Hub for experiment with different models and the use cases, and it's made my life pretty easy. I can do multiple evaluations, create multiple compute resources, and through that I can parallelize the process of maintaining and evaluating multiple models at the same time that are released in Hugging Face, and that will make my life very easy. Earlier I have to spend a lot of time just to reading up research papers, finding out which model suits me, which does not, and then resources are not that much available when you are a prototype startup. So I'll just quickly share my screen. Right. So yeah, okay, moving on. So welcome to Punk AI. The main feature of us is making AI as light as feather, right? So I have 8 years experience in cloud. I have worked in Microsoft, and where I meet Lee. Lee was my mentor, and I've been in constant touch with him for past 2 years now. And when I pitched him the idea, he introduced me to the Founders Hub, and then I started my startup journey from there on. So another person that is working with me is Dr. Shailendra. He's a dentist in Karnataka, and we both are transforming AI with Punk AI. So this is our picture that we met in Bangalore a couple of years ago. Next, what are the challenges that we are seeing in the AI field right now as AI integrations deepens? So you see ChatGPT, they have been exploring with lots of GPTs that are around the world. There are so many models available, Hugging Face, so many integration, RAG implementation, LangChain, Ollama, Llama 3, and how we are going to navigate through it. So the spotlight here is on the efficiency of these models, and as you know, transformer architecture, there are lots of architecture like state space models, there are vision models, and what I'm trying to do here is finding a scalable model, and that's what we are tackling here. And how we are doing these innovations, mainly by leveraging Azure and Azure ML. So just to show you some details how I am using, let me know. So I've been working around my resources, I have these compute resources for my services where I can, run up my evaluation. So I think this one is Mamba architecture based, fine tuning for the Q&A operations, right? And then I can have the evaluation matrices all available on the Founders Hub. Oh, sorry, this is Azure AI, where I can real time analyze how my model is working on the training set. Then I also have some inferences results like this, where I am trying to work with smaller mama model with few LoRa checkpoints here, and trying to create a 1-bit interface with this with bits and bytes. Then again, another one like Deep QA, which is another model that has been released recently, and I just want to try it out how this performs. So currently, like I have already done it. I'll show this evaluation here. So this is like very easy part. Then we have checkpoint result and everything that can be stored in blob storage and can be retrieved later on. And the surprising thing that I found once I fine tune it, so the adapter that is being generated for fine tuning, it reduced to a very small, yeah, I think it's in here. So yeah, I ran this for around 10 hours. So you might see that it is incomplete, but actually it completed in my evaluation level. And so it comes around 40 MB, the additional fine tuning set. And this is done on squad data, which has been released by Stanford. The other part of this is related to evaluation as well as storing the model checkpoints, making some upgrade based on like whether you which library you want, which torch library. Like these models have different architecture, different configuration. So how I can generalize all these into a single interface so that you don't have to additionally run out of error or memory or something like that. And next, like I'm using lots of Azure resources. I've been using databases, functions, app services. I have a couple of apps registered here inside. I think this one. Yep. And another one, I think this one. Yeah. And this is hosted here. This is our website. So it's still in development phase. We are just starting the prototyping one and trying to create a proper seamless interface for deployment and integration of custom models. And the other part that we have been working on, I think so this is the application that I told you about the dental thing. I'll come to a demo. This is the website, and this is basically fine-tuned on the base of dentistry books. So I'll come to that on my demo. Next, like why we are working. So basically our model, they run faster, uses less power, and it will be much easier to scale. Right now, there are a couple of models which uses transformer and state space integrated architecture where we are planning to run our models. It will be more scalable, less token, and like lots of features. And then we have impact the amplified in dentistry. I'll just show a video of it. So here we are generating quiz for a practical exam. So currently it's for anatomy. It will take some time. I'll skip it ahead. Okay, so now user can basically go through the questions and answer on real time. It will tell it whether it's correct or wrong. Yep, and it will see the live answer whether it's right, wrong. So it's just like this. Next, I think is another side where we are trying to generate a couple of questions here. So this is basically the first year of dentistry where they'll tell you whether you're on first year, second year, third year, or fourth year based on this. So I find it amusing. Go to theory. We ask some questions. So I think currently we'll be asking some wrong questions and see how our prompt engineering works. So I've asked it to not to answer anything outside the dental related questions. Yep, I think, yeah, it is there. The next one is again a bit ahead. Oh, I think yep, this one it is. So the second one, like some random question that I've been asking. Yep, it says cannot answer it. Then I ask the right question. So it will give me the answers for it. Yep. Next, thank you for going through the slides. And yeah, any questions, anybody, like I'm happy to answer that.
Great, thanks, Pankaj. So again, it's a great example again of a RAG model. You've been a lot more approaching this from a pure data science perspective because you're in earlier stage startup. So a great example of showing like Jupyter notebooks and the compute resources, and then that RAG aspect again in terms of knowledge from dental records to help students train and get used to, building and utilizing dental practices and conventions. So yeah, excellent. So over to Dr. Robert. So tell us all about CleverDist.
Hi, Lee. Thanks for having me. CleverDist is sort of a spin-out. We are a bunch of crazy scientists and computing engineers, mostly coming from CERN, like you said before, and we are focused already for quite some years to Industry 4.0. No, so all of the power plants, manufacturing, highways and tunnels and railway, petrochemical, name it, whatever you can think. We are a very B2B company, in fact. So yeah, that's CleverDist. We focus on control systems. So everything that is connected to civil physical systems and needs a control room to monitor and to control all of these infrastructure. So just to give an idea, we are now doing a control center to control 13 power plants from a single location. That's sort of the like of the project that we do. And since 2023, I'm one of the happiest months on earth, I feel. I'm thrilled every day with my work. We jumped completely into generative AI. We've been since, I believe, April, March, already testing the very early first previews available. And of course, having a DNA, a very scientific DNA in our company, we very quickly started to try all of what it was possible, even from preprints. We didn't wait for papers to be published. Pretty much, we were testing, and we were super happy to have access to all of the possibilities that the founders have provided to us in terms of different features, services, models, especially Azure OpenAI, but many others that we were using to just create POCs in pretty much 2, 3, 4 days a week and so on. So we've integrated generative AI currently. That's totally my mission to bring it into the industrial world, the industrial automation. And in our company, we are using it pretty much everywhere, but I will very quickly mention 3 things and probably just demo one of them very quickly. First of all, when it comes to engineering, so all our software engineers and scientists that they are developing a control system, they are using a very, it's not an agentic approach, as you can see here in this slide, but it's probably a hybrid because we have human plus artificial intelligence working together, which we find currently is the most productive approach to software development and engineering. What we do in this case is software development, but it's a very special niche software development for what is called operational technologies, which is not exactly the classical Python, C++, Java technologies, but there are other technologies which OpenAI models like GPT-4 and any other LLM, they don't have really knowledge because they are very proprietary. There is no Stack Overflows, where engineers are sharing all their knowledge and so on. So we even needed to fine-tune some, and we were very happy again with the Azure OpenAI team to have very early access to fine-tuning of GPT-4, so we could train it and teach it, create our own data sets as well using GPT-4 to train these fine-tunes. So we could learn how to program in these specific languages and using these specific patterns that we use in operational technologies. So yeah, this is a little bit of a flow that we can reproduce using Copilot. We have different agents. Some agents are using chain of thoughts behind the scene to make more elaborated prompts where AI is verifying the output of another AI, basically. So it's a semi-agentic approach that we use in this case. We have interfaces also to the control system, so the AI can explore the projects as our developers go. That would be one of the things. I would also like to mention that we have a product in the Azure Marketplace, since before someone mentioned IoT, which is called IoLite. And this product is it's a very simple product, but there is nothing like it in the market. It's just dedicated to extract industrial data from industrial infrastructure. So imagine a factory, for example, where you want to get your data and send it to Azure, where you want to do some further analytics and so on. So with this product, you can just deploy it in your you can just deploy it in your system through Azure Edge, in fact. And you have access to all of these industrial protocols that, again, they are not normal IT protocols like IEC, Ethernet. There are some that probably you heard about it, and maybe if you're not in industrial systems, you didn't hear about some of this. But you can just extract this data and then send it, for example, to Azure Event Hub, where you can then do all your further processing. And it's a very simple application. We just need to do a few clicks here and there, and anyone can do it and send their data from their industrial infrastructure to a cloud or to any other application, build their own pipelines if you want. And we just recently, and I don't have it unfortunately because it was today, we also included, since I think Adir mentioned before multimodality, we also included what we call intelligent vision in IO Lite. So I believe this is going to be the first intelligent vision deployable software gateway, if you want, where you will be able to just deploy your intelligent vision piece of software, which is managed by Azure Edge, and you'll be able to define here's some, you give a name and so on, but you just provide the URL. So you connect, imagine all of these infrastructures and control rooms where they have all these cameras, with different streams that they are monitoring the infrastructure. So we are able to connect to those streams, and then the users can create their own prompts. Like, well, I want to see if the people walking in this area, they are wearing the safety gear or not. And if not, I can decide what I want to do. I can, for example, raise an alarm in the control room, so through an output, or I can create a report and send an email, or I can do different types of actions. And again, we will have different triggers. So we'll have some triggers that they are based on the control system, otherwise, they might be scheduled, and probably we will use also some computer vision to use some triggers that they could be based on OpenCV, and computer vision or something like this. So that will be a second product. And finally, we are also using it in operation. So for our final customers, that they are the ones operating those control systems, we are also integrating artificial intelligence, generative artificial intelligence, in fact. And this is an example I would like to try live. It will be kind of a first time. And this is being recorded, so I hope it's going to work. And it's a bit tricky because I need to use two microphones. Here, again, we are using also multimodality because there is also voice. We're using whispers, in fact. And I'm going to talk to the model, and I'm going to ask basically whatever I want. So the idea of this, that I see this working in about 6 months from now in pretty much real time. So as the operators speak to the interface will be adapting, bringing information from the control system in live, including trends, by the way. There is already a version, some of my developers could show me, where you can request information and it creates a trend. But the idea is that you just express your needs as an operator in natural language, and the system is capable of interpreting those needs and just thinking what it needs to be done so you can see the information you're looking for. I will try something very simple. That's why I have this very big microphone here next to me. I'm going to try something very simple, like telling the AI to move the camera to some position. Let's give it a try. Move the camera to a corner of the terminal. So what happens here now is that it goes to Azure OpenAI models. We're using all the function calling, and we are using a bit again of agentic. So as you can see, it takes a few seconds to process. This will become really real time. And of course, I ask for something really very simple, but we can do things more sophisticated. Let's give it another try and see if we are lucky, because again, we are testing this. And by the way, I just decided to move it to another corner. As we can see, it didn't finish it. It keeps doing things, which I am not sure always why. And we are aligning this thing as we speak. We're trying different models that they are faster, of course. If we use GPT-4, it will be a bit slower, and we don't want the user to wait. So we are currently using GPT 3.5, but GPT 3.5, we need to align it a bit more to reason through some of the requests. No, let's try something else. Find container 128 and display all of the available information. Now, for this one, normally the model should know that to find information about this container, it needs to go to the control system. So it needs to call some functions to retrieve this container information. Then it needs to call another function to display in the 3D scene that information, and so on. I hope it works, but if not, you can trust me that this is going to be in control rooms before the end of the year. So we will make sure that this is quite bulletproof. In fact, it's probably trying to parse through all of the control system, and we can see that it didn't work in this case. Let's give it another try, another shot. We give it another opportunity to 3.5. I think we are short on time, however. Find container 248 and display all of its information. I hope it's not my crappy English, Spanglish, I call it. In fact. Okay, again, we see it here. Okay, now it found something, at least it's moving. Okay, it's presenting a label which is not really in the best place, but it found some container and it didn't retrieve correctly the information. And it didn't do exactly. I will invite you, I will post probably a video where we tried it recently. Again, our team are doing many different things and we keep changing the prompts, and sometimes we're getting a bit of misalignment, but yeah, this is what I wanted to show you today. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Very cool, Robert. So again, really great example of multimodal there. What's been fascinating about these 3 quick short demos for me is that you're all at different stages of the Microsoft Founders Hub program. You've got pretty well established solutions to new solutions that you're doing, new model implementations to solutions that you're now looking at MVP. So it'd be great to hear from each of you, what is your current stage in the Microsoft Founders program? So Ed, what stage is currently, what current stage are you at?
Yeah, so we're now at level 2, I believe it is. So we've we kind of built the prototype. We've been spending the last month or two really driving usage and just getting a ton of user feedback. But we're really excited and obviously want to build this whole career coach, but at the same time there's no point doing it if nobody's going to use it, and we build it in a way that nobody wants. So we're now level 2, right, which I think is the point at which we get this expert network, and we recently moved on to that, and that's why we're trying to make the most of it at that stage. So yeah, we're and as a company we're still pre-funding. We're looking at raising a kind of pre-seed round in the next few months.
Excellent. So Pankaj, what level are you?
I'm also in currently level 2. We are prototyping, and probably last talk we had, I will be moving to level 3 so that I can get more GPUs to train on, right? And that's my main concern. So I'll probably by next week I'll start on level 3. Excellent.
And Robert?
We graduated. We completed our graduation recently, and super happy of all of the results and looking forward to keep using all of the Microsoft services. Yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, as you graduate through the program, you get more and more credit and more access to different services and platforms. So one of the questions we had in the chat is what applications or services are you taking advantage of? So Ed, I know you talked about using OpenAI, you're using app services and functions. You had a great overview of what you were using. Is there anything that you can really call out as oh my god, if we didn't have this, we wouldn't be able to do this?
I think for us, the really big one that drew us in, right, because obviously there are other cloud platforms with startup programs, and we for us we're building an AI first platform, and Microsoft's partnership with OpenAI and just they're 100% in on generative AI approach to the marketplace is definitely something that we couldn't ignore. So that for us was the really big thing. It was the OpenAI service they have, the partnerships, but also the fact that you're constantly building more and more generative AI tools, and adding it to stuff like Teams and Outlook and things like that, which historically aren't necessarily the most exciting tools, but actually are getting more and more exciting every day with the stuff that's being added.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, actually. So all Microsoft startups do get access to M365. So, you can create that as your infrastructure for your organization from SharePoint, Office, with Copilot as well. So, it makes you more effective. So Pankaj, I know you're going to say GPUs.
GPUs.
Without a doubt,
yeah.
GPU.
Yeah, GPUs as well as like I am planning to use Power Apps for my RAG application so that we can integrate it more smoothly, like sending up emails, looking at the progress of the students, and these kind of things. I was thinking of that, and then I think another one which I really liked is the Porter one. It's fairly new, but it helps you to encapsulate all your infrastructure in Azure, and I think that will be much great to use so that we can scale it well. Right.
Excellent. And again, a question for you, Pankaj, because you showed it in your notebook, is that you're currently trialing different LLMs to see, what's the optimization, how can you fine tune them, how can you get them smaller? So, have you found services like ML Catalog where you can download and get access to all the different models?
Yes, so I think I used Llama models earlier as a teacher-student distillation process, and then I used that same one Mamba, but it didn't work because the architecture were different for both the models. So from model catalog, I used Llama. Then other one from Hugging Face, there was one another model. I think I don't remember. It was 2 weeks ago where I trained it, fine-tuned it actually, and that was I think GPT 3.5 Turbo. It was, yeah, GPT 3.5 Turbo, which we use for API as API service. That is again integrated in our app that amplified dentistry.
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting point. That just because you've built a solution, you don't have to build a solution using a single LLM. You can use multiple LLMs for the best activities in your solution. So it's great to see all those examples. So Robert, final question for you is, what sort of service could you not have lived without while you were part of Founders Hub?
I think it's not that much about living without them, but indeed to being able to do things at the real speed and scale, basically. I think that's the core thing, that we can always rely that whatever we are building or prototyping, we can very quickly scale it as soon as it works. I would say I think we are using pretty much everything, databases, Azure Functions, hubs, buses, and different services. Not everything, there is a huge thing, but quite some of the building blocks.
Awesome. So, huge thank you to our startups and founders. Again, you've seen how they've grown through the program, how they can graduate from the program and keep on building and securing funding. I'd like to introduce now to Bruno, who's going to take us through what Founders Hub is, and a demo of Founders Hub, and talk about what the offers and packages are that are available to startups within Founders Hub. So thank you, Bruno.
Hey, Lee. Hello, everyone. Thanks to everyone. I love to hear new ideas, new projects. I also love to see how amazing the stuff that the people are building. And this is when you apply for Founders Hub, and Bethany will talk a little more about the program, but I want to show Founders Hub. This is the platform. If you apply and get accepted to the platform, you are going to get the chance to sign in and then access to a portal like this. This is work in progress. There are a lot of features coming soon. You're going to see here that are probably not available in the official one. You are probably going to see things in the official one that are not here, but I want to give you an idea of the experience of Founders Hub. So this is a sample, a fictitious company, Goku the cat, and hey, let's take a look at a couple of things that I have here. So I'm in a level 2. Remember that we have levels. We want to help everyone in all your startup process, from your idea to your final amazing company deployment. I'm on level 2, so I have access to $5,000. I already use 444, which is kind of nice to have here. I see, okay, this is what I have. I still have 1 year valid to use my credit, which is great. And I can do more here. I can take a look at the benefits. We talk a lot about the benefits. We have a lot of amazing, of course, Microsoft stuff with Azure AI Studio, Azure OpenAI Service, but we also have our partners and our business helping you there, like GitHub Enterprise. You can get here and you can redeem your seats, or access to LinkedIn Premium Business, or access to OpenAI credits, or 50 seats of Microsoft Business. And then we have a lot of third-party benefits programs, like in example, I don't know, Babel is a super popular one. If you want to do your CRM or dynamic stuff, we have Dynamics here. There are a lot of things you can do here. But what I really, really like is that, hey, you have a chance to discover a lot of information, technical information, like an example, how you can build Azure Static Web Apps, how you can create your first application with React, and more. But at the same time, and this is important, we also have guidance for you to do your own startup, fundamentals, the path to revenue, naming and branding, and more. And what I really, really like, and this is the final part before I move on, is that you have also access to support. You have technical advice on Azure. You can partner with an advisor that is going to help you get the best of Azure. An example, you can create an Azure support request if you find something that is not working as you expected. And what I really like is that, hey, you have also access to the expert network. The expert network is an amazing global network, so you can find people in your location if you want, where you are going to have basically the chance to, I don't know, I'm in Canada, so I can go here, start to get access to the expert network, find someone in Canada, let's go here in Canada, and here in Canada I have the chance to talk with Austin, which is a social impact champion and more. And once I connect with him, I can be here and send a request to, hey, I need help here, there, can you help me on the technical side, on the business side? This is the whole experience that we want to share here on the Founders Hub platform. So thanks a lot. I am going to hand this over back to Bethany. She's going to share a little more about the programs on the slides. And once again, congratulations to the speech that we hear today, because those ideas were amazing. Goodbye.
Yeah, definitely the ideas were amazing. I learned a lot of new things. And thank you so much, Bruno, for the quick overview. I'll rush through the slides also to just give you an overview of what Founders Hub exactly is and what benefits you get joining the Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub. One, as mentioned, you get free Azure credits as well as free OpenAI credits, as well as access to all the resources you might need to be able to help you grow in your startup. You also get access to other offers, as Bruno has already shared, access to other offers from partners like Babbel and LinkedIn, and as well as guidance from Microsoft experts. Founders Hub is structured in a layered way. So you first start with ideation, then develop, grow, and scale. This is how you get into Founders Hub, the different stages. The first stage is ideate, when you just have a ripe idea of like, yeah, I want to build this, so I want to join Founders Hub to be able to help me build my project. And here you'll get access to mentors to be able to guide you and give you an idea of what you can be able to build. Then the next stage is develop, where you now have an MVP for your product and you want to now keep growing. And then once you've been able to get your product to market, you get into grow, where now you're now adding new products, ensuring your product is ready to fit the market. And then the last bit is scale. Once you're already in the market, you already had a couple of customers, now you want to scale your product to fit with different areas. And the good thing is you get benefits not only from Microsoft, but other startup friendly offers that you can get from other trusted partners, such as I mentioned, LinkedIn, OpenAI, Miro, and Babbel. And then, of course, you get access to Azure resources, Microsoft Azure, which you can get up to 150K over 4 years. The benefits are at different levels. So you might not get 150K when you're at ideation stage, but you might get that when you're in level 4. And then also access to GitHub Enterprise, Visual Studio Enterprise, as well as other platforms such as the Microsoft Business side, that is Microsoft 365, Power Platform, and Dynamics to help you interact with your current colleagues, and as well as create projects that you can be able to share outward, like sales and marketing, as what Rupert mentioned he's doing. These are the benefits per stage, the Azure benefits you get. So in ideation, you only get $1,000 credits, $1,000 credits for Azure. And when you're at scale, that's level 4, you get $150 of credit. So depending on whichever stage you are, you can still experiment and build with Azure. Some of the guides you might be able to put at the back of your mind as you apply is, one, your product must be a software-based product or service. That should be the core of your business. 2, it should not have received more than $10,000 worth of free Azure credits. So it should not have been able to get that amount in Azure credits before. And also your startup should not be like a government entity, an educational institution, a Bitcoin or crypto mining company, an agency, consultancy, dev shop, or your own personal blog. And that's it about Founders Hub. I hope you're able to join. As I mentioned earlier, the link you can use for everything is on the left of my, on the right of my screen. So you can go ahead, click on that link, and you'll be able to gain access to all these benefits we've talked about. Ensure you join the Discord community to be able to interact with other AI enthusiasts, other startup founders. And I've seen so many people asking about, hey, do I get to access, how can I be able to get access to, for example, co-founders and stuff like that? I think Discord is a good place to meet people, new people, and to be able to figure out, is this my next co-founder? So ensure you join Discord, as well as apply for the Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub. I'll hand it over to Julia as we end, and then after she finishes, I'll play the last video showcasing what Nurup has been able to do in 3, 2, 1 check.
No, thanks, Bethany. Actually, I think we're done. So if you could just go back to the previous slide briefly, and I just want to thank everyone who has been involved in this event. I think we've shared so much, and I'm sure that you will definitely want to access all the links that have been shared, from the panel discussion to the demos and to the links you can actually use to register for Founders Hub. So if you scan the QR code on your screen right now, you'll actually access all the links that have been shared in today's event. So definitely take this screenshot. Save this QR code. You'll definitely need it to access everything that has been shared. And most importantly, once you join the Discord server with the AI community, if you have any questions, I've seen a lot of questions coming in on the chat. If you have a lot more of such questions, let's keep the conversation going. It doesn't have to end here. We have a team that is more than happy to support and help and block you in any way that you may be stuck. So again, thank you so much to the team behind this. And I'll just pass it back to Bethany to see if there's anything else we can share before we leave.
No, we're just sharing Nurup's video as we end. Thank you so much, and goodbye.
Bye.